Hello and welcome to Twisted Britain, a podcast on true crime in Britain with a sprinkling of the weird and the macabre. And your hosts are me, Bob Dale.
And me, Nadine Royal. We're a couple of friends who met in the pub and developed a friendship based on our mutual love of booze, podcasts and pub quizzes. We met in the Settle in Stirling, and that's where we record.
Each week we'll both tell a story of something twisted. One long one and one short one. And we'll decide who goes first.
Based on the flip of a coin.
And we've made the other people in the back of the bar really awkward right now. But it's okay, they can stay because they seem quiet. It's fine. How's you this week? You alright?
I'm alright. How are you?
Yeah, I'm alright, thank you. Yeah, just...
That's good. I was just actually, while we were getting started there, admiring your rucksack over there with your Nepalese flags.
Those flags have actually been to base camp.
That's very cool, that is.
Yeah. I went to take them on a plane this week when we were down in London, and I was like, oh, please don't make me take them off.
Did they?
No, they didn't, but
Oh,
I had that
good.
in my mind. I was like,
Yeah.
I will literally eat these and get them back later if I need
Like
to.
what, swallow them whole?
Like a clown just pulling them out later on.
Well, not from your mouth though.
The worst kind of clown. Never invite them to your birthday party.
So the worst thing about me bringing them up was before I opened my mouth to say I had noticed your nice Nepalese flags. I had to think really hard of the word Nepalese, and I was going to say your
yeah.
Napoleon flags, which would be in a different thing entirely.
I was a big part of that war.
A Bonaparte.
A Bonaparte. It was a rubbish party. Apart from that, how are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. Just being working as per. What about you?
Yeah, same. I was in London at the weekend.
Lovely.
It was my big cousin's 50th birthday.
Happy birthday.
We took a wee trip down to Staines.
Oh, my gran lives near Staines.
It was lovely, actually.
She lives in Shepperton, right on the Thames.
Yeah, don't know where that is.
Okay.
We went for a lovely walk along the Thames.
Oh, nice. It is beautiful. You get loads of like actual barges and stuff down
Oh yeah,
there.
it was cool. Yeah, and they showed us where David Williams did his swim through the lock there.
Oh yeah.
And then so the party was Saturday night. We'd had a pub lunch and all sorts.
Oh, perfect English weekend.
Yeah, it was good. And then went to Windsor Castle.
Lovely. Windsor Castle's a good one.
It was great fun, actually.
Jealous is in Windsor.
Go on.
Legoland.
Yeah, but it's only the Santa meet and greets at the moment.
Ugh.
And I'm not...
Yeah, not about that.
Isaac doesn't like people in costume. So
Doesn't like Gruffalo, doesn't like Santa.
Does not. But what we did do was the big long walk in front of it. So it's like it's called the long walk, but it's the driveway leads up to it. As we turned around, I noticed that the Royal Standard was flying, so the Queen was in while we were there.
That's very cool, actually. Did you make Isaac wave to the Queen?
No, he was asleep.
Okay.
And she didn't come out for a pint, so...
Oh, rude.
I was going to leave a couple of Twisted Britain
I was going to say, ask her if she's a follower. She's wearing one of her t-shirts.
Hiding them somewhere, but I was like, I'm not getting shot.
For the sake of our podcast?
For the sake of our podcast.
Well, do you know what? I'm both offended and disappointed.
Well, I'm sorry, everyone, but I refuse. If I get shot, I can't do anymore.
No, I don't know, but I'll come to hospital.
Yeah, but you could do the story on me.
Oh, be good, wouldn't it?
I'm the dickhead that got shot for a podcast. So no, that was all. Lovely. Horrific delay in the flight on the way back, so we didn't get in the house till 1 o'clock, and putting a toddler to bed at 1 is a pain in the butt.
Yeah, I bet it is.
But it was good fun. It was a really good weekend.
And that's us as well in the Christmas season now.
Yep. Fully Advent.
We're really into it, aren't we?
Fully Advent.
I know it's getting a bit merry around the place.
I'm
not yet sick of Christmas songs on the radio.
That's
Quite
all right.
enjoying them.
Isaac got a really cool Advent calendar from one of our best pals.
Oh, what did he get?
It's like a stamp set Advent calendar.
Oh, very cool.
So every day's a different stamp.
Oh, that's and
yeah.
he has to stamp it.
So he has to stamp it on a bit of paper, and that's
Lovely.
his Advent.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah,
That's a really
cool.
nice idea.
So they got us that for his Christmas as well, because obviously I wouldn't imagine it's one of your cheap throwaway Advent calendars.
No.
But no, it's a lovely wee gift. I like it a lot.
Very nice. That is nice. I know. Well, we're fast approaching my biggest bookmark of the Christmas season.
It's Krampusnacht.
Indeed, it is on Thursday. It will be Krampusnacht by the time that everybody has listened. It will be like a week ago yesterday for all of you listening.
And if you haven't listened to last year's Christmas episode, Nadine covers Krampus in it.
Very British.
And you're very British, and if you want a different version of Krampus, listen to Three Spook Girls.
Yep, just covered it themselves. It's a very good episode, actually. Would highly recommend.
I always recommend Three Spook Girls. One of my favourites, actually. So Yeah, give them a listen as well. And
we'll share some social media about them,
of course,
so that you can find them very easily.
How's your research for this week gone?
Do you know what? I really, really enjoyed it. Not that I don't always enjoy my research, but this week in particular, I was thinking about the fact, right, that our podcast comes out on Friday the 13th, this episode does.
Yeah, it does, I know.
Which I was quite pleased about. And then I thought about, will I do stuff on Friday the 13th? And I was like, I don't know. And I had like a little look. It is interesting, don't get me wrong. But then I thought, what other unlucky events have there been in British history? And I'm covering a pretty big unfortunate event.
Okay, I'm excited now.
It's one that when it occurred to me, I thought, actually, I really don't know a lot about that. And I've really enjoyed learning about it.
Well, you were telling me you were talking to your mum all the way up in the car.
Yeah, it was. I was giving her facts and dates and all sorts. I've really absorbed this one. Really enjoyed it.
And you're on short story.
I'm going to reason that it's not that short.
Okay.
Sorry.
Mine's a page shorter than a normal long, so that's fine.
Okay, we're working. This happens at worst. It's like we're professionals.
We're not.
How's your research?
It's good. Mine, I only found 3 sites.
It's a like mystery.
It's like a local folklore one. Obviously not from here. I'll get into it a bit more when we start talking about it. But I'm going to read out the 3 websites I found that I got most of my research from because they're excellent. And
lovely. Should we do a little link to that on our social media as well?
Yeah, for sure. I found a WordPress site that some guy's done all his own research, but he's been to the place that it was and like
very cool,
taking his own photos and all that kind of stuff. And it's ace. And I had a look. The last comments on it were from like 2014. So I think I'll probably send him a wee message after we've done this before it goes out and say,
heads up.
We've used you as one of my sources. So,
very cool. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, like I say, I literally, the last thing on my page is I've copied and pasted
the links.
The links so that we can put them up properly.
You're a wee sweetheart, aren't you?
I'll send them over to you so you can social media the fuck out of them.
Oh, I'll be all over that shit.
Good.
Well, I think we've bibble-babbled a lot, shall we?
Oh, yeah, let's... I got a coin out already.
Oh.
Look at me being
prepared. Right, flip that shit.
Heads or tails?
Tails, you go first.
It's a head.
Oh, hello.
You're up.
I hardly ever lose or win the coin cost, depending how we look at
the coin cost.
Is that what I said?
Yeah.
Coin toss. So, I'm going to cover the Great Fire of London.
Oh, very good.
I really don't know a lot about it. Like, I didn't learn about it at school with it being in English, in history.
I have a fact about it.
Oh.
I'll let you tell the story and I'll see
if it comes up.
It's a reasonably recent thing that I found because everybody thinks they know where the Great Fire of London started.
Oh, I wonder if it's...
So I've read something recently.
I'm going to mouth at you.
So yeah, you've mouthed it at me and I have a fact for you, especially, but I'll let you tell the story.
I'm very excited. Okay, right. So the Great Fire of London swept through the central parts of the city for a total of 4 days, beginning on Sunday, the 2nd of September, back in 1666. What I also liked about this, and tying into my Friday the 13th, is the fact that the year is 1666.
Yep.
Nice. Sign of the demon. The fire ruined the medieval part of the city inside the Roman city wall. The fire would end up destroying 13,200 houses, 87 parish churches, St. Paul's Cathedral, and most of the buildings of the city authorities. So quite a lot of destruction went down.
Yep.
It is estimated by some that the fire destroyed the homes of 70,000 of the city's 80,000 residents. So most people were left absolutely homeless from the fires. Surprisingly, only 6 deaths were recorded at the time, but the official death toll is unknown. By the 1660s, London was by far the largest city in Britain and was estimated to have around 500,000 inhabitants. Though this number could have been reduced greatly by 1666, as during the previous winter, the Great Plague of London had hit the city and wiped out around 15% of its population. Again, though, that's quite hard to know because they didn't tend to record deaths very well back then, and especially during like great wipeouts, they just didn't really do a good job of.
And probably tabs. Also part of that is they wouldn't have known how many homeless and poor would have suffered in that because they wouldn't have had a kind of census record of them.
Exactly. So order in the streets broke down quickly as rumours arose that suspicious foreigners had set the fires. The fears focused on the French and Dutch, who were England's enemies in the ongoing war, and unfortunately these immigrant groups became the victims of lynchings and street violence following these rumours. It's thought that the deaths of poor and middle-class people, be it by fire or by residential violence, were not recorded, and the heat of the fire may have cremated many victims, leaving no recognisable remains, which is a horrible thought.
Yeah, really horrible.
In the Museum of London, you can see a piece of melted pottery which was found by archaeologists at the point of origin of the fire. Analysis of the pottery shows that the temperature would have reached 1,250 degrees Celsius, which is really fucking hot.
That's mad hot, yeah.
Mad hot.
Really mad hot.
Mad hot. The Great Fire of London started at a bakery or a baker's house that belonged to Thomas Fariner on Sunday the 2nd of September 1666, after midnight. The blaze began on Pudding Lane.
Do you want it now? Because I can't actually find the thing, but so I was watching a documentary recently that says the monument that's there.
Oh, don't you dare talk about the monument later.
Okay, fine.
Because there's two monuments, and I talk about... Right, wait until I get to the monument part,
okay,
and I'll see if I tell you.
Okay, cool.
So, it started at Pudding Lane, and then it quickly spread west across the city.
Or did it? Sorry.
Your look of... I don't even know what that look was.
It's just
intrigue?
It's my face.
Sorry. London street plan was still quite medieval at this time, consisting of mostly overcrowded, narrow and winding cobbled alleyways. The city was pretty flammable and as such had experienced several major fires before the Great Fire, the most recent of which happened only 34 years previous, so they really hadn't learnt very many lessons.
No, none.
The reason the city was so flammable was that they built houses made of wood, which had thatched roofs, and it was still very commonplace to do that, even though it had been prohibited, because the materials were just so cheap and everyone was so poor.
Well, we were talking about it in the last episode in the house fire in the Glen that we were talking about. They hacked the beams out to try and stop it catching the thatched roofs, because they were like, as soon as that's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, it's gone. Which, during the Great Fire, when it's a blazing fire spreading across the city, you can't really save it by hacking beams out.
Inferno.
Inferno is a good one.
Yeah.
It was indeed an inferno. These buildings tended to be 6 or 7 stories high, and they all had jetties, which were like these projecting upper floors that often met each other across the narrow alleyways, which joined all the buildings together. So like on every floor there'd be like a little jetty, the next one's up would be like a bit longer, so that they like really kind of capitalized on the airspace in London, because there really wasn't a lot of ground space. And yeah, they would just like meet across the alleyways like your little jetties. You have little neighbours.
Yeah.
Hey ho.
Well, it's like when you were talking about Edinburgh. You just stacked upon stacked upon stacked.
Yeah, and then they started trying to build outwards like from the buildings, try and make them like maximise on space, because there were just so many people there. London was also full of black powder, which was left over from the days of the English Civil War. And at this time, there was 500 to 600 tons of powder stored in the Tower of London. And also the ship chandlers along the wharves of the Thames also had large stocks of it held in wooden barrels. So everything was very, very flammable.
Oh yeah, it's a tinderbox entirely. Yeah.
Just waiting to be lit.
Yep.
As you can imagine, fires were quite common in the crowded wooden city, which was full of open fireplaces, candles, ovens, and all the stores of black powder. Back in the 1660s, there was no police or fire brigade to call on to help in times of tragedy, but there were the trained bands, who were the city's militia, who would kind of help during emergencies and such. The only other people that helped to extinguish a fire, should there be one, were public-spirited residents who were just willing to help.
Just nice folk.
Yeah, and they would be alerted by the pealing of church bells. So if like a fire went off, they'd ring all the church bells and they'd go, oh, something's happening. And people would rush out and go and try and help wherever help was needed. Cool. Which is nice, but a fire brigade would be nice.
Yeah. I mean, if I heard a pealing of church bells, I would assume wedding. Yeah, totally.
Be like, that's nice, go back to bed.
Yeah, back to bed. Oh, somebody else has done it.
Back then, firefighting techniques were quite lacking. And the most popular and effective way to stop a fire was through demolition, which I found very interesting.
Well, that's the whole hacking stuff out of buildings and throwing it away.
So they did it a slightly different way.
Okay.
Taller buildings were levelled quickly and effectively by means of controlled gunpowder explosions. You just blow the whole thing up. That
sounds like it's going to keep a fire going to me.
You'd think so, but making a gap in the buildings stops the fire from spread.
I suppose it's like a fire break in the forest.
Yes, exactly what it is. So this method was used a lot toward the end of the Great Fire and was thought to eventually end the blaze. So this was delayed by the Mayor of London, and by the time he'd actually decided to go ahead with demolition, the wind had already carried the fire into the north of the city. So it was spreading and spreading, and he Too Late was like, yeah, okay, do it, start blowing up buildings. And they were like, well, it's not really going to help that much now. Thanks.
Some guy was sat there going, blow it up anyway.
Blow it up. Also, by law, the tower of every parish church had to hold long ladders, leather buckets, axes, and fire hooks for pulling down buildings during fires, which I thought was really interesting.
That's mad, isn't it?
Yeah, so every parish church in the tower had firefighting equipment.
I suppose it needed to be in the tower because they'd need those huge hooks to pull bits of the roof off.
Yeah, exactly.
So you need somewhere to put them.
Yeah, somewhere real tall.
Yeah.
Like a tower.
Like a tower.
Great idea. The other major method for battling fires was obviously through water. London had fire engines, which then were actually quite rare and like quite an impressive bit of kit for its time. They weren't fire engines, obviously, as we think of them now. They were very, very medieval.
Just a big tank of water on the back of a truck.
Pretty much. They rarely proved to be flexible or functional, as only some of them had wheels, and most were mounted on wheelless sleds, which you had to drag through the streets.
That sounds... I mean, we had invented the wheel already. Sounds like a really flawed system.
Seems a bit silly, especially unless you're very lucky. Your fire engines don't tend to be where the fire is. You got to drag them to a source of water and then drag them to the fire.
I suppose there'd be a load of horse shit in the street though, so it might be well lubed.
Ooh, good point.
Yeah.
I thought about that. So scores of men tried to get these engines to the banks of the Thames to fill their reservoirs, but several of them fell into the river.
Oh,
several of the tank engines, off they went. Tank engines? Fire engines.
Thomas fell in the river.
Thomas, don't do it. The remaining tanks couldn't reach Pudding Lane due to the intense heat of the blaze and the narrow streets. It just was not feasible to get them down there. Even under normal circumstances, the mix of carts, wagons, and pedestrians in the tiny alleys was subject to frequent traffic jams and gridlock. These alleys were even more crowded due to the camping refugees who had fled their homes or were fleeing the city altogether due to the blaze. So the people trying to stop the fire were battling to get closer to it while people were battling the other way to get the fuck away from it.
Yeah, just a proper culmination of unfortunateness.
Yes.
Stopping the water getting to where it needed to be.
You can see why I did the story now.
Yeah, I like it.
So, the High Roman Wall, which enclosed the city, threatened to shut people within the Great Fire, within the Inferno. The fire soon reached the riverfront of the Thames and cut off the option of escape by boat. Also unfortunate.
Yeah.
This left the 8 gates in the wall as the only means of leaving, which were quite quickly overrun by people in a state of panic, and that was by about the end of day 2 of the fire. Because strangely enough, during the first couple of days, people didn't seem that much in a rush to leave.
It'll not happen to us.
Kind of. So, people would leave their homes where the fire was, coming towards them. They'd gather up all their belongings, their wagons and their carts, all their belongings that they could muster, and they'd just leave, and they'd kind of go to a safe house, or they'd go and camp out in a street, or they'd go to a cathedral.
Bye, guys.
Bye. They'd go to a cathedral to get away from the fire, and sometimes they'd move 4 or 5 times a day, every few hours, just to kind of avoid the fire as much as they could. But nobody was really that panicked because fires were quite common.
Folk were decamping but not moving.
Yeah, not fleeing as such yet. But then they did. Yeah, by end of about day 2, they were like, "Well, we got to get out of here. This isn't ending."
Have you said how long the fire lasted?
Yeah, it was 4 days.
4 days. Okay,
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, it was Sunday, very early hours of Sunday until the Thursday. 4 days.
Good counting on your fingers there.
Thanks, just checking. The London Bridge was the only physical connection between the city of London and the south side of the River Thames, which was itself covered with houses, so incredibly flammable also.
Well, that's the one thing I always find mad about the bridge, was it used to have houses,
and
shops
everything.
and all sorts on it.
No, it's just a big bridge.
I would love to have seen that.
Yeah, very cool.
Just, you know how much I love all the history stuff. I would just love to have seen the bridges in London.
We've been all bustling with people, busy all the time.
I very much picture Diagon Alley, just wee nooks and crannies and overhanging buildings, and it was amazing.
You're
to
painting
see.
a very romantic picture here.
Thanks, I'm doing my best.
I like that. Oh, now I want to go.
Shall
we add it to the tour?
As soon as I invent time travel, we'll go.
Can't wait. It had been noted as a death trap, the bridge, back in the fire of 1632, and by dawn on Sunday, sure enough, all the houses on the bridge were burning. So Sunday evening. So dawn of Sunday. It started just after midnight.
Yeah.
By dawn, already on fire.
I mean, that's a good few hours. So
Caught quickly. There were fears that the flames would cross London Bridge and set alight to the borough of Southwark on the south bank. But thankfully, this danger was avoided by an open space between buildings on the bridge, which acted as a fire break. In the end, the fire was thought to have been extinguished by the luck of the strong east winds having died down, the gap in buildings on Tower Bridge, and the Tower of London garrison using gunpowder to create effective fire breaks to halt further spread eastward by blowing up buildings and such.
So a series of fortunate events.
Finally, yeah, after the worst, unluckiest 4 days ever. The social and economic problems created by the disaster were unfortunately overwhelming, as you can imagine.
Of course, yeah.
Evacuation from London and resettlement elsewhere was strongly encouraged by Charles II, who at the time was the King of England. He feared a London rebellion amongst the refugees who'd been displaced during the Blitz would happen. Like, already they'd had like mass amounts of violence towards French and Dutch immigrants. They also then started having like a lot of uproar regarding there was like lots of different people were blamed, and like they tried to scapegoat a lot. Anybody who tried to own up to it, including like a few crazy people that were just like, oh, it was me, I started the fire. They'd point directly to them and go, that guy started the fire. I think they blamed the Catholics at one point. I could have gone into more, but it was a very, very long story.
There was a big...
Oh, of course they blamed the Catholics.
Yeah, it was Guy Fawkes. I blame him.
Oh, bloody Guy Fawkes. Despite several radical proposals, London was reconstructed on essentially the same street plan used before the fire, which was not a great idea.
Foundations are there.
Well,
chuck it back up.
Yeah, fuck it. The Crown and the city authorities attempted to establish to whom all the houses and ground did in truth belong, to negotiate with their owners about compensation for the large-scale remodelling that these plans entailed. But that unrealistic idea had to be abandoned because it was just impossible to find out who owned what land, who lived where, what are you due, what compensation do you need, are you going to rebuild your home, do we need to pay for it? Impossible. They just had to scrap that entirely. With the complexities of ownership unresolved, none of the grand Baroque schemes could be realised for a city of piazzas and avenues that the king desperately wanted, because there was nobody to negotiate with, and there was no means of calculating how much compensation should be paid. Instead, much of the old street plan was recreated in the new city, with improvements in hygiene and fire safety, with wider streets, open and accessible wharves along the length of the Thames, with no houses obstructing access to the river, and most importantly, buildings constructed of brick and stone, not wood. So at least they improved.
Yeah.
Finally learnt their lesson.
Let's use non-flammable stuff.
And make the city a little less crowded and bustly, and also let's keep the Thames clear for water use.
I wonder if somebody sat with a brick trying to set on fire with like a couple of matches and went, this seems okay.
Yeah, this is approved. It is controversial, but it's thought that the fire could have actually contributed to ending the Great Plague in London by burning down unsanitary and rat-infested houses.
Well, that's an interesting thought.
Yeah, so when I said that to my mum on the phone, she was like, oh yeah, I'm sure that's what I was told, like at school, like that's what they were told, like,
okay.
Oh, the Great Fire actually helped to end the Great Plague, so, you know, that's good at least. But then quite a lot of historians argue with the fact that they don't actually think it did really, but quite a lot of historians do agree with that, so who knows? I'm going to say, yes, it did.
And who are we to argue with historians?
Exactly. I'm going to agree because I think that's nice. Good news, for once.
Non-crime.
Not crime. King Charles II had a monument built in remembrance of the Great Fire of London near to Pudding Lane, and then there's another monument which marks the spot where the fire stopped. The monument is called the Golden Boy of Pye Corner, which is in Smithfield. Pye spelt P-Y-E, by the way, but nonetheless, Pudding Lane to Pye Corner, the fire stretched. And according to the inscription, it was evidence on the Golden Boy, it was evidence of God's wrath on the city of London for the sin of gluttony that the fire started at Pudding Lane and stopped at Pye Corner.
Very good.
Thank you. What's your fact about Pudding Lane?
I was just looking up there. So the monument at Pudding Lane was erected at 202 feet tall, but stands 202 feet east of where they think it started.
Very good.
However, after a fair amount of research, there's a historian that now has tried to put an X marks the spot as to where it would have started based on
like old maps and stuff.
Based on more information than we have.
Yes.
And it would have been on Monument Street.
Oh, that's good, isn't it?
So they built a monument in the wrong place, but they think it was
should have been on Monument Street.
So I mean, that's like I say. I read it. I read it or watched the. Did I watch a documentary on the Great Fire in London recently, or caught the end of something anyway? And the thing I took away from it was it's not Pudding Lane.
That's great.
because I love that for pub quiz knowledge-esque kind of stuff. Because everyone says, where did the Great Fire of London start?
Pudding Lane.
In a baker's early in the morning. But there's evidence to say that it started on Monument Street, which is like a street forward from Pudding Lane. So it was right in the same area. So this massive monument is just in the wrong place.
Isn't it? I just really didn't know a lot about the Great Fire of London. I knew there'd been a Great Fire, and that was all I had really.
And that it was in London.
And I just didn't really know a lot about it. And I found that really interesting.
Yeah, no,
and like
cool.
Annoyingly, like when I started doing my research, I was like, oh, that'll be fine, like as a wee short one. And then by the end, I was like, oh my God, there's so much, but I just didn't have the time this week to like do a second story, and I'm so sorry. But like, I wish I had done that as a long one, because there was just so much on it. Very interesting.
I think the thing that most people would know about the Great Fire of London, if they're not from London, would be it started on Pudding Lane in 1666. I didn't know it ended on Pye Corner.
Pye Corner, that's
really
a good one, isn't it?
I like that a lot. But I think that's the kind of they're your wee facts.
Yeah,
that
factoids.
Come with, oh yeah, I know about that. But then you don't actually think about, hang on a minute, how did they manage to pull it down?
Yeah,
and where did all the water come from?
Yeah, it was just really good. And like, I didn't know as well, like it was more as well, I didn't know about the timings of it, like where in history it fell, because it's like seen as like a landmark itself on our kind of like historical timeline. But then I didn't know that like it was not long after the English Civil War, and that it was during the time that we were at war with the French and the Dutch. And like, I just didn't know stuff like that. And it like makes for quite an interesting dynamic. And you can almost like imagine being in this medieval London, like City of London kind of place, where people are starting these rumors like, I heard it was the Dutch that started the fire. And then suddenly there's like violence in the streets. People are camping out, having to live on the streets and stuff because their houses have been burnt down. It's just madness. People have died of the plague not long before. How unfortunate can you be?
I think, I'm just double checking here.
No, not even a year's passed since the plague's gone by. That's awful.
So I have stood at the monument.
Have you?
The Great Fire of London Monument. Because when we went down to London for the Whiskey Festival.
Oh yeah, it's very
nice. So we won all the money for the pub quiz, and then we used it. 4 of us went down to London to the Whiskey Festival.
You did that during our whilst like in the time that we've been recording. We talked about it.
But it was at Old Billingsgate, which used to be the fish market.
Yes.
And it's right in the Thames, obviously, because it's a fish market.
Yep.
But the queue to get into it went right out, and I was stood there going, "Oh, what?
What is this monument?"
No, I was like, "That we must be near the monument for Pudding Lane."
Oh, you just knew.
Well, because I knew would walked past Pudding Lane to come off the subway to come down. Sorry, the tube. And one of the guys we were with, Corin, was like, "Yeah, man, that's it there." And then you turn around and go, "Oh fuck! There's a massive monument."
What is the monument?
It's just a big spire.
Just like a plinth.
It's a massive spire. It's 202 feet tall. It's quite an incredible piece.
I'll post some photos of them because I want to also look up the Golden Boy and see if it is in fact a Golden Boy.
Yeah, I don't know what that one looks like, but I think I've got a selfie of me in front of it.
Oh, that'd be nice if you did.
I'll have a look through my phone and see if I've got it, and if we do, we can chuck that one up as well.
Lovely.
We'll find a nice photo of the monument as well, but we'll put the one of me up as well. That was cool. I like that.
Thank you very much.
Good amount of information. Thank you very much, Nadine.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And also a history, not crime from me for a change. A little bit of something different for you there.
Probably. I mean, I'm going to call crime on it, though.
There is crime there.
Yeah.
There was some street violence. Crime.
Yeah, I would imagine there was a shitload of looting and stuff went on as well.
Oh, probably, yeah.
And you used the word militia. So
crime.
So just automatic crime.
Death was slightly crime. Depending.
I'll give you half a point for that one.
Okay.
Take that.
Was that like 3.5 points?
Well, which for you is a great score. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try for 2 points this week, but it's a cool story, so you'll be fine. No, that was cool. I enjoyed that.
Thanks. Shall we just go for a little drink? Oh, you're going to say something else? Go.
No, absolutely. Let's go for a drink.
Okay.
See you in a minute.
Bye.
Well, hello, my friends. This is CK from the Mirths and Monsters podcast. Join me, my companion Finn, and my occasionally satanically possessed cat Ray as we investigate the real truths behind some of the most wonderful creatures you can imagine. Are trolls really that thick? Or is it just bad press? Are leprechauns really drunken bums? Sort of. But there's a lot more to find out. all you need to do is tune in to Mirths and Monsters podcast with me and Finn. Till next time, sláinte, your good health.
And that's us back.
Hello.
We have been joined by the Pantocast of Aladdin from Stirling.
Oh, no, we haven't.
Oh, yes, we have.
And that is as much panto as you will ever get in Twisted Britain, I'm afraid.
That was really good.
They've just had their first performance and apparently it went very well. So, big round of applause. There's still... Sadly, unfortunately, when this comes out, the tickets will not be any use to anybody.
Sorry.
But there are tickets available. So yeah, shall we just crack on with mine?
Shall we indeed? Oh, actually, no.
No, we won't.
No, we won't.
What we'll do is we're gonna give a massive shout out to our new Patreons, which we have been very fortunate to get a few of.
We have been. We've got quite a few to go through here, if you are ready.
Always ready.
So a very big thank you to Justin W.
A big thank you to Alan K.
A big thank you to Lida K.
A big thank you to Jenny B.
A big thank you to Bridget C.
And thank you very much, Simon D.
Thank you to Yvonne N. And that's us this week.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining our small, ever-growing band of Patreons. I'll give you the same caveat as we've given everybody else. We have badges arriving. They were dispatched today.
They were indeed.
We will get your badges to you as soon as we possibly can. You'll have them for wearing on Christmas Day.
Yeah, oh, that's nice.
I hope, depending on the post. But yeah, so my story this week.
I'm excited.
It's a bit of a funny one, this one. Like I said earlier, I only found kind of 3... There was mentions of it, and there has been a book written about it, but I didn't read any of the book because I didn't.
Okay,
that
that would be a bit of a task.
But they're the kind of 3 main sources I used. I'll mention them as we go through. So this is Bill O'Jack's murders.
Okay.
This is the story of a double unsolved murder that happened in 1832 in a country remote pub in Saddleworth. It remains to this day one of the darkest things to have happened in the local area and has become part of local folklore. Like I say, I got most of my information for this episode off a couple of websites. Mysterious Britain, which is an excellent website.
Nice.
Really, really enjoyed it. And the Dove Heritage website.
Oh.
The WordPress site was Wessyman137 WordPress, but we'll put a wee link up.
Yeah, we'll get some links
all
up.
3 at the end. So basically, if you want to know anything more about this, I would highly suggest going and reading the 3 websites because, I found a lot of information in it and really enjoyed reading them, actually. So the victims in this were Thomas and William Bradbury, and the murders happened in the Moorcock Inn, which is locally known as the Bill O'Jacks.
Mm-hmm.
Bill being William, and he was the son of Jack, and at the time it was Bill of Jack.
Oh, see, I was imagining Billow, Billow, but it's not, it's Bill O'Jacks.
O'Jacks. So it was, Bill of Jack, Jack being his father. So William was the landlord at this pub, and his son, Tom, was the gamekeeper in the local area.
Lovely.
Their gravestone sits in the churchyard of Saddleworth Church, and I'm going to start by reading the first part of the inscription on it. And there's a little poem on the gravestone that I'll read at the end.
Exciting.
So the gravestone starts, "Here lie the dreadfully bruised and lacerated body of William Bradbury and Thomas, his son, both of Greenfield, who were together savagely murdered in an unusually horrid manner on Monday night, April 2nd, 1832, William being 84 and Thomas 46 years old."
Unusually horrid.
I find it quite interesting that they decided to use dreadfully bruised and lacerated bodies on the gravestone.
That is an interesting factoid to put down there. It's not what I'd want on my gravestone, if I'm totally honest with you.
Depends how you go.
Fair point.
Yeah. I'll decide.
Well, actually, I'll put that in my will. You get to decide what's on my...
I might be long gone by that time. Well, I'm hoping so, darling. I've got a good 10 years.
Don't know if the sharks get me.
Well, that's true. So Thomas was discovered lying in a pool of his own blood, severely beaten and lacerated around the head, while William was discovered upstairs in his bed, less severely beaten, but still injured around his face. Several weapons were found within the area that could have been used in these attacks. There was a fire poker, a sword stick, a spade, a broken pistol, all of which were covered in blood and congealed hair. Congealed blood and hair? Yeah.
Yes. I don't think you can congeal hair. Blood, like you can have hair
Covered
that is in congealed blood.
Well, that's what I meant then.
Okay.
So, here's how April the 2nd unfolded. Tom had returned to the pub that day after being out on the moors. Like I say, his father was the landlord. He was in the pub with his friend Reuben Platt, and they were having a couple of drinks together before heading down into town. Not to do anything particular, but this was kind of dinner time, evening-ish, and Tom had to go and do bits and pieces, and Reuben was just heading home. He obviously lived in the town.
Mm-hmm.
So the pub is situated out on the moors and is a fair wee walk to the town. Tom, like I said, needed to go and get some groceries from the shop, and Reuben was heading home. On the way down the road to the pub, to the town from the pub, they bumped into Bill William, who was returning, and Tom handed him the keys so he could get in. As they left Bill, the two men bumped into three men resting at the side of the road, and they were asked how far it was to Holmesfirth, which is about 8 miles away. It is noted that the men had an Irish accent, and Tom felt a bit uneasy about them, especially as they'd be passing the pub on their walk and knew his father was alone on the path not that far down the road. Anyway, the pair set off again and arrived in the town of Greenfield and parted their ways. Tom went and fetched the groceries, and Reuben, presumably, just went home. After buying the groceries, Tom returned to the Moorcock, and this is the last that we know that happened for sure. We only know all of this because of Reuben's account of what happened that evening. So a couple of things before I go any further. The Moorcock itself sat 2 miles outside of Greenfield, with the nearest house to it being half a mile away. That house was owned by a man called James Whitehead, and James's account of the day has him recalling seeing Tom and Reuben walking down the road, but he does not recall seeing any Irishmen. So if you can picture, it's outside of the town. It's, when I was looking at it, I don't know if you've ever been to Fort William, but there's a pub on the road out of Fort William up towards Ben Nevis, and it's only accessible by walking path. Like there's not a road, there's no car park or anything. Well, you can park nearby now because the town's spread a bit.
Yeah,
but it's a proper like Drovers Inn.
That's it. One of my favourite places ever is actually a pub called the Drovers Inn, which is in the Trossachs, and it's just my favourite place. It's full of taxidermy. It's rumoured to be very, very haunted, and it does wonderful food. Yeah.
Well, same, this place in Fort William's very, very similar. Rosamund and I went one year. She took me up for my birthday and we stayed in a couple of yurts and then went to this place for dinner because I was like, we need to go to this pub because I've walked past it a load of times and never been in. But this...
So did you just say you stayed in yurts?
Yeah, in a yurt.
Very nice.
Yeah, it was lovely actually. It was really beautiful. We opened the door in the morning at dawn and had this...
Does a yurt have a door?
These ones do.
Okay.
And we had a beautiful view of Ben Nevis.
Oh my goodness.
Door. It was incredible actually.
Lovely.
So yeah, that's the way I picture this place. It's just like a big old stone kind of farm type building.
Yeah.
In the middle of nowhere.
Proper traditional.
There's some really cool pictures of it that I'll send to you for our clues. Yeah, it sits it now sits where a field is next to a forest and a reservoir that would take you. It's like I say, it's 1.8 miles or something outside of Greenfields. It would take you a good 40-minute walk, I would imagine. So fairly out there. So their walk back into town wasn't one down the high street. So they could have met people and so no one would have noticed, but James is fairly certain that he didn't see anybody with them. So anyway, the next morning, which is the only account that we have of what happened, because after Tom left the town, there's no reports of anybody seeing him until the following morning. So the next morning, the 3rd of April, 1832, Amelia, who was Bill's granddaughter, was sent to the pub to fetch some yeast from her grandfather, presumably making some bread or something.
Yeah, I'd presume.
What she found when she opened the front door must have made her sick to her stomach. She found a body lying in a pool of blood, beaten so badly that she failed to recognise her own Uncle Tom.
My goodness.
She was quoted to say he was lying in his own gore.
Do we know how old she was?
I don't, actually, and I spent a bit of time trying to find what Amelia's age was, but she was old enough to have been sent to somewhere that was fairly out of the way.
Yeah.
To go and fetch cheese. I would imagine it was a fairly lovely play at park.
To go and fetch...
some yeast.
I thought you said cheese there. I was like, what?
No, some yeast. So she was old enough to do that. She's not a child. but I don't think she was an adult. So adolescent, let's go with. Like I say, she was so taken aback by the scene that she was greeted with that she failed to recognise her own Uncle Tom, and was quoted in saying that he was lying in his own gore. After finding this gruesome scene, she ran up the stairs to find her grandfather, lying in his bed, beaten and also covered in blood. Having discovered the two men, she didn't hang about too much, and she ran out of the pub.
Good girl.
And headed to the nearest house.
I'm quite surprised she even went up those stairs. That'd be straight. You'd open the door, see Uncle Tom there, and leg it.
Well, she didn't know it was Uncle Tom. So
yes,
so she was looking for her grandfather.
Oh, I suppose. Okay, yeah.
Make sure Bill's okay.
Old Grandpappy Bill.
So she runs out of the pub and sets off down the road, and she managed to cover the half mile down to the house of James Whitehead. After telling James and his family what she had found, James decides, I need to go to the pub to see what's going on here. Bearing in mind this is 1832, it's not like you can lift a phone to call the police. He housed it up to the pub and walks in the door and goes, holy shit, she was absolutely right. There are two men essentially dead in this house.
Oh, God.
He confirms what she said and sends for Mr. Higginbottom.
Excellent.
A local surgeon.
I love him.
On arrival, here is the surgeon's report that he gave to a local newspaper. Now, I'm going to caveat this a bit to say that this is the newspaper's report on what he said. So there might be a bit of tabloid spin on this. But this is the report from the paper at the time. Thomas Bradbury was still on the floor, for such was the terror created by the spectacle that those who had before arrived were incapable of affording him any assistance. He was lying on his face in a pool of blood, with which his clothes were soaked. His head and face appeared to be a mass of clotted gore. Though apparently unconscious, he made frequent attempts to rise from the floor, but each time sunk again into the pool of blood in which he had been lying. At this time, pulsation had ceased at the wrist, and he was in fact struggling in the agonies of death. In the chamber was the old man, who, from the marks on the floor and the staircase, appeared to have waded through the blood in his stockings and made his way upstairs to the bed. There was a deep cut to the left side of his head down to the parietal bone, which was considerably depressed. The fingers on the left hand were cut to pieces. The wrist and elbow of the left arm were cut and mangled in a shocking manner, the muscle being cut through to the bone, which was broken to pieces, and the body, from head to foot, was covered in bruises. Tom, who they knew was pretty much beyond help, was taken to the bed up the stairs and was found to have 16 wounds to his head.
16?
2 of which had fractured his skull and bruised him all over the body. He died before they could finish dressing his wounds.
Oh.
The old man died early hours of the following morning. So this is the bit that I find really horrific about this, is there is no time frame between, well, there is obviously a time frame, but there's no account of the time frame between, say, 9 o'clock in the evening the night before until Amelia turns up the next morning.
Jeez, oh.
And then when the surgeon arrives, they are both still alive.
Yeah, still struggling.
When he gets there. So, by all accounts, if anybody had turned up at that pub at 6 in the morning or at 12 at night, or somebody was trying to catch last orders, they might have either disturbed the person that was doing it or found them in a nick that they could have
saved them. They're right, that is unusually horrid.
So basically the summary is the two men were absolutely just beaten to death in the pub. And they were the pub itself was robbed for all the valuables available. So the questions that I take from that, so that's basically the story up to there, is all that we know about what happened. So my questions are, what happened, who did it, and what made them target the Moorcock? These questions go completely unanswered, which is a horrible thing to do to a podcast and just leave you there with unanswerable questions.
It is indeed.
But what I can do for you,
yeah, I'll take that,
is give you a bit more information and we can try and draw some conclusions from it.
I like this.
So, on site, when the place was inspected, they found, as I say, an old spade, a poker, a sword stick, and a cavalry pistol. And I like the idea of a cavalry pistol because it's proper one of those old school black powder guns.
Nice.
The pistol, however, was found by the surgeon outside, as if it had been discarded by the side of the road. It was loaded, but had not been fired. But there was blood and hair found on the handle, but the handle was broken to bits, suggesting it had been probably used to club somebody.
I was going to say they probably like pistol whipped him.
I'm guessing Tom, based on his injuries. I've literally put in brackets here, probably Tom.
Probably Tom.
Because Bill Williams...
Gash on the side of his head.
Isn't a...
What were the other weapons again, sorry?
An old spade.
Yes.
A fire poker.
Yeah.
A sword stick.
Yep. What's a sword stick exactly?
So it's exactly as it sounds. It's like your walking stick that you draw out
Oh,
of the sword.
very cool.
Yeah. Which I would imagine was probably part of the pub's decor.
Yeah.
William, they think, had been beaten with the spade.
I was going to say, that was going to be my guess, that one.
And Tom was found with stuff that he'd been bought earlier in that day still on his body.
Oh, God.
Including some candles that were covered in blood. That, to me, suggests that he's got back to there and somebody's been robbing the pub and they've jumped him.
Yeah, yeah.
If he's still got some of the...
Yeah, they've maybe like, whacked Bill on the head there to like disarm him and get him out of the way while they're looting the place. Tom comes back, what the fuck? And then they just like attack him.
Yeah, and beat him with an...
And he's a bit younger. I bet he put up a bit more of a fight than old Bill.
Exactly, which would, to me, suggest accounts for the huge amount of injuries that were to his body in comparison. Not in comparison, because that makes it sound horrible that William didn't take as much of a beating, but when you go down that list...
But he didn't really, though, did he? So.
No, he didn't, but when you go down the list of what had happened to Tom, he'd taken an absolute kicker.
Yeah, he has, hasn't he? Well, 16 injuries to the head alone. Bruised head to toe.
No one was ever arrested for these murders, and it still remains a mystery to this day. However, there are many, many theories.
I bet.
So like I said earlier, I could only find 3 accounts that I went, these are accounts I'm going to use for my information. There's obviously bits and pieces of speculation on local kind of... The local town's website has bits and pieces about it, because I would imagine they've got a museum in the town and all that kind of stuff. There was bits and pieces or comments on the pages that I read that were other people had chipped in with stuff that they'd done on research. So this seems to be a very... I'm trying to think of the right word, like cyber sleuth. That makes sense.
Yes, yeah.
Kind of cyber sleuth type investigation into it all.
Armchair detectives, I believe they call them.
Yeah, exactly that. So people that are not obviously policemen at the time or policemen now that have gone, here's a bit that I found, and loads of bits and pieces have been kind of pieced together.
They actually saw, I'm sure there was a case, now I can't recall, of course I can't, where a host of cyber sleuth armchair detectives actually like helped to solve a crime, I'm sure, by piecing together bits of information that hadn't been like pieced together in the right way before. I can't remember now what it was. Sorry.
That's all right. No,
there's some useless information.
Thanks. We're full of it.
Oh, hello.
So, like I say, there are many theories kicking about the internet and kicking about books and bits and pieces. Do you want to hear them, or do you want to have a speculation on what you think happened?
Well, I'll give it a bash.
Go on then.
So, first up, I don't know why you'd mention them other than to cast some doubt into my head. The 3 men hanging around. I don't like the sounds of that. I feel like it has to be more than one person that launched this attack, just based on the amount of injuries and the several weapon choices. If you were just a one person, you would just have your shovel, or you just have the sword, or you just have, you just have one weapon and whack, 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 whack at them, But if there's more than one, that suggests to me more than one person. I do think you're right with your theory that maybe they were already robbing the place. I think that they came in, hit Bill to like disarm him, and he was probably like quite quickly, like maybe like a couple of hits did it, and he was on the floor like passed out. Tom's then come home during this attack, during the robbery, whatever. They've then gone, shit, Tom's put up a bit of a fight. They've attacked him, and they've attacked him to that extent because he kept on like trying to fight back and get up and stuff, being a bit younger and a bit fitter, presumably. And then they finished and left, presuming that they've managed to kill Tom, and Bill's unconscious still, so fuck it, let's just go. Bill then wakes up at some point. He's been hit in the head quite severely. He's got a gash from one side of his head down to the back of his skull. So like he's gotten up, he's in an absolute state of confusion because he's concussed. He's like then wandered through poor Tom's blood there and upstairs to bed because he's like, I don't know what's happening. I need to go and lie down. I'm disorientated and confused. and gone and lain up there, and then that's where we get to.
Now I'm gonna go with I would agree with you. I would agree with you mostly.
Mm-hmm.
The only reason I'm saying mostly is because I haven't given you one tiny piece of information yet.
Oh, you sneaky.
So, do you want to hear the speculation?
Please do.
So, there's obviously quite a few suspects that we can have a think about here. The number one suspect being the 3 Irish men. So, they followed up the road, carrying on towards where they were going. Noticed the pub was occupied by just the old man and decided to rob it, and was disturbed by Tom the son.
Mm-hmm.
So your theory.
My theory.
Reuben.
Oh, Reuben.
So there are some accounts that in William's dying throes, remembering that
he's all disorientated and speaking mumbos.
Said the word pat or plat.
Oh.
Reuben's second name being Platt. This is conjecture based on stuff that I found, but it could be related to a few things.
Mm-hmm.
It could obviously be related to the fact that Reuben's last name was Platt, but it could also be related to Pats, which was often used as a derogatory term towards Irish knaves.
Yeah.
But nobody else claims to have seen these Irish men.
Apart from Reuben. Bloody Reuben.
One last thing I'll bring up is that Tom, the son, was supposed to be testifying the next day against a local poacher who he'd had a spat with.
Well, that's suspicious.
But that is literally all I know about that.
Oh, that's suspicious.
The Moorcock Inn was demolished in 1937, and all that remains is a cellar that's still on the hillside that is now often used by sheep as a place to hide.
Excellent.
There's
add that to the tour. I'd love to go in that cellar.
Yeah, totally. What I will say before I go on to read the poem that's on the gravestone is, if you go on to YouTube and look at the Bill O'Jack's murder, there's a couple of channels of people that seem to just go to places. Like we keep saying that we'd love to go to places, but there's a couple of channels of folk that have been to this area and taken film and video and photo of the area.
Excellent.
Now, I'm not suggesting anybody goes and tries to find the cellar because it's on private land now.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a no-no.
But there are images taken of it and video of the walk up to the entrance to where the Moorcock would have been. Which I watched having done most of my research, and then I mainly watched it to try and get a picture in my head of the area, and it's really, really cool.
Tell you what, we'd go and visit that cellar and we'd be down in there investigating it, and I'd still get asked to change a keg.
Yeah, probably. Probably. My theory on it, I'm going with you.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Irish knaves.
I just feel like by the extent of those injuries,
I don't think Reuben could have done it by himself.
No, it's a lot, isn't it?
Especially because he knew.
Yeah, that makes
Bill.
Hard, doesn't it?
So and he was good friends with Tom. So for Tom to have sustained those injuries, I can't see one of his friends having done it.
No.
But
did you say that things have been taken from the pub?
Valuables,
right?
I don't know what, but like things like the sword stick and the pistol were discarded at the scene. So,
you would throw them, and if they're covered in blood, you'd go, can't take these.
Or would you throw them in the reservoir that was nearby? So don't know. Loads and loads.
Poke it in the blood, chuck it outside. There's your murder weapon.
Loads and loads of bits and pieces about that's really weird, and it's one of those ones when I was reading it, I was like. In fact, the first thing I came across was some guy doing a YouTube video walking into the graveyard.
Very cool.
And it seems to be a fairly well-trodden path to this specific gravestone's not the right word. It's like a slab on the ground.
Okay. I don't know what you'd call that, but I know what you mean.
But it's now William and Tom and the women associated in the lives. I'm not going to say. I think it might have been the mother,
wives, sisters, daughters.
Yeah, the women associated in the lives are all buried in the same.
That's
plot
nice.
now.
Amelia, presumably.
Maybe not because she was granddaughter, so niece to.
Oh yes, okay.
I wish I'd found more about Amelia. To be honest.
Yeah, I feel sorry for her a lot. Feel sorry for everybody.
Yeah, poor woman walked into.
Horrendous, isn't it?
A nightmare.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, go on, right.
Would you like the poem?
Slap us with the poem, please.
So this is the poem that's on their grave slab?
Yes.
Throughout the land, wherever news is read, intelligence of their sad end has spread. Those now who talk of far-farmed Greenfield hills will think of Billow Jacks and Tom O'Bills. Such interest did their tragic end excite that ere they were removed from human sight, thousands and thousands came to see the bloody scene of catastrophe. One house, one business, and one bed, and one most shocking death they had. One funeral came, one inquest passed, and now one grave they had at last.
Oh.
So the bit the poem mentions an inquest, and there was an inquest into their death. There was £100 put up as a reward for information.
Oh, okay.
It kind of sparked a local bit of nonsense, I suppose, of people going, "Here's an Irishman, here's an Irishman, here's an Irishman."
Oh.
One guy in particular was questioned by the police, and his answer to it was, "I'm not the man you're looking for."
Ooh.
But I couldn't find his name. But that to me lends suggestion to the Irish being the culprits of it.
Do you think
Not
so?
the entire nation, of course.
No.
The three Irish
We've
men.
already offended Ireland enough, what with your dodgy impersonation.
And you just not knowing what the IRA was.
Oh, we both know that. I know what they are, but I just passed it to you so I didn't get in trouble.
So that's the account of...
That was lovely. Do you know what I'm pleased as punched by?
What?
That on the tomb slab, whatever we're going to call it, that they've put Tom O'Bills, because
Yeah, I thought you'd like that.
I was going to, when you explained the Billow Jacks thing, and he said, and his son Tom, I was going to go, Tom O'Bills. And then you've gone and said it. I
Yeah.
wish I'd bloody made that joke now.
Well, I'm Bob O'Tom.
That's nice.
What are you?
Nadine Onick.
Yeah, there you go.
That's pretty good.
That's your name now.
Yeah, I quite like that.
So yeah, like I say, that's the story of Billow Jacks, and I would highly advise that anybody who liked that story, and I know it was a bit bitty, but if you like it, go and have a look at it. I'll put the 3 sites that I looked at. Mysterious Britons is a wonderful website.
Do you know, it's like stirred this like, I don't know if it's just got like similarities to another story, but it stirred this like vague memory in my head somewhere, and I'm trying to think if I've actually heard another podcast cover that.
You haven't.
Are you sure?
Well, I checked on. Well, if you have, I couldn't find it.
I'm sure there's like another story that's like very similar, where they're like, oh, there was like the supposed sighting of a couple of men lingering around, but nobody else saw them.
Yeah.
That, I think that's obvious. That could just be anybody could say that, though. I
checked
suppose.
listen notes, as I always do.
Very nice. Well, aren't you thorough?
Yeah, and if anybody listening to this hasn't been on listen notes, it's basically a podcast search engine that allows you to put in a topic or a title and find any podcast that covers something that you're interested in. It's once I've devised a story and kind of put a skeleton down about what I'm talking about, Listen Notes is one of my first places I go to see who else has covered it.
Nice.
It's one of the reasons why I've refrained from covering certain subjects when other people have covered them recently and things like that. But Listen Notes is fantastic. It's a great tool.
Wonderful.
We appear on it if you search the right things. It's one of the reasons why I think our episode titles aren't... I love our episode titles.
Not lending themselves very well to being found.
So I'm trying to put the names of our victims
into the description. No, that's
so
a
they
good
pop
idea.
up on Listen Notes anyway.
I think our episode titles are just dandy, to be quite honest.
Well, I'll take dandy. Thank you very much. Because I usually come up with them after about 3 pints when I'm like, oh shit, I need to upload this for tomorrow.
That's how we do everything, is it not?
Chin chin.
Think.
So as always, if you've liked what you listen to, then please do follow us on social media. You will find us on Facebook.
Twisted Britain.
You'll find us on Twitter.
Twisted Britain.
And you'll find us on Instagram.
What's that, Twisted Britain?
If you'd like to get chatty.
Oh.
If you'd like to get chatty with us, please do find the Twisted Britain discussion group on Facebook, it's been great recently, actually.
It's actually been shit hot. I keep getting lots of stuff about the Krampus thrown right at me, and I am loving my life.
Yeah, and
Thursday night, I'll be uploading a photo of my goddamn Krampus tree.
And I've stolen a story off one of our regular contributors. Dave has...
What up, Dave?
So basically, could you not read Dave's post that he put up about a story recently?
Okay.
That would be nice, because I'm probably going to cover that sometime in the new year.
Okay, I'll avoid that.
What I would say is, I think it was Dave that posted up the thing about the Halloween pies recently.
Yes, actually, I need to reply to that. Sorry, Dave, there. Yes, they are wonderfully disgusting.
Millions of nightmares.
If you want to know what those pies look like, please do join us on our Twisted Britain discussion group, named just as such. You'll find us on Facebook.
You'll find us on Facebook. And please do come along and join. And it's the place that we chat to you as us rather than as a culmination as Twisted Britain.
Also, if you want to get chatty, but you don't have social media, you can send us a little email. Bob, what do you email?
twistedbritainpodcast@gmail.com.
One more time from the top.
twistedbritainpodcast@gmail.com. And Twisted Britain Podcast is one word.
One word.
You heard us give a shout out to our patrons earlier. Our wonderful patrons are the reason we can continue to keep doing this.
You.
We do love you, and we'd love anybody who likes the podcast to get involved. If you sign up to Patreon, you on all of our tiers, you get an extra episode every month.
Comes out on the 15th.
It does, and it's a bit different to our normal Twisted Britain episodes. We've not had anybody so far say that they want them to be more like the normal Twisted Britain episodes.
No.
We cover something a bit different every week.
Yeah, it's been a bit mad. I did a shared dream across the globe one of mine.
That man.
This man, actually.
This man, sorry. That man to me. I don't like him. Yeah, we've done lots of different bits and pieces. And
been interesting.
If you'd like to see them, do sign up to our Patreon and we'd be forever your friends. As always, wherever you listen, please hit 5 stars and give us a rating and a review. We would love that. But really, just thank you very much for listening.
Thank you so much. In fact, thank you, love you, bye.
Thank you, love you, bye.
Don't open a bakery in a wooden house.
Don't send your 82-year-old dad back with the keys on his own.
Both good advices. Go. Bye.
There's a reason I don't do this at the end.
I know.